the future is not going to happen by itself. In order to have a future that we are satisfied about, we need to have a present that we're satisfied about. And we are not satisfied about our present. So we need to work on changing this present because it's not going to change itself. In order to be able to work on this present, we need to have strong people to work on it. And to make those people strong, we need to equip them with the learnings, with the funds, with the, believe in their potential. We need to give them the space of making decisions, because you have the circle of the things you can affect and the circles of the things that are outside of your decision choices. And as long as we are putting young people with a small circle where they only can affect, like the things they choose to wear and the places that they choose to go, in the future, they will be dressing better and going to better places. You affect this, you will be doing this. If we try to border this circle and give them a chair to change the rules and to suggest ideas and to build the plans for countries and to actually, study things that are more future-oriented rather than your wish list for your parents, if we make this circle of choices bigger and better, we will be having a better future.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the On the Ball podcast, where we have curious conversation about life, career, spirituality, and anything in between. My name is Eniko Toth, a civil engineer turned world traveler, public speaker, trainer, and Toastmasters champion. My goal is to bring you inspirational topics and people that can help you find your own definition of success. When you are ready, it is time to be on the ball. This podcast will be truly inspiring for you and probably for many people you know. So please share the link of the podcast with them. Also, a quick reminder, hit the subscribe and love buttons to get notified about the upcoming episodes. Then share a rating and a review if you like what you are listening to. My guest today is only 23-year-old but has done some remarkable things for her community already. Yousra Mshmsh is a computer engineer by education, an artist by talent, and a youth activist by choice. Her greatest passion lies in community work, and she works towards building underprivileged communities through social entrepreneurship, technologies, and dialogue. Yousra participated in several peacemaking projects focused on gender-based violence, social discrimination, and lack of opportunities. She has been leading a project that empowers kids in resolving injuries in their local communities by using the practices of changemaking. In addition to her youth work, Yousra has several years of professional experience in supporting startups and social enterprises to accelerate their growth and leverage their success. Yousra is also a member of the UN Office of Counter-terrorism Youth Unit, working with global team of changemakers on designing international peace-focused youth programs and materials. She is the current regional manager leading Peace First, an organization that was founded at Harvard University 25 years ago. In this episode, we are going to talk about youth engagement versus youth inclusion, community activism, and peace building. Yousra is such an inspirational soul who has already done so much good for the world. I cannot wait for our conversation to get started and hear her sharing all her motivational thoughts on building the future we need. Welcome back to the On the Ball podcast, where my guest is Yousra Mshmsh, an encouraging young professional, a youth activist, and I'm so happy to see you here and welcome you from the heart of Jordan. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be in this podcast.
I'm so excited for our conversation. I cannot wait to hear all your stories and thoughts. So first of all, you are a youth activist. And you were a computer engineer. What made you to shift? Why did you find your calling in youth activism?
Okay. So I get asked to this question a lot, like a computer engineer who should be working on hardware and tech and programming that is on the field doing sessions and info sessions and facilitating workshops. And to be honest, like when I started doing the computer engineering major, I did it out of a passion towards technology because I saw that it is where the world is leading to. Everything is being replaced with tech. And if you look through what are the skills that will be required by 2030 or by 15 years from now, it will not be having double languages and leadership skills. It will be knowing how to code as an ABC. So I flew with the computer engineering department as a need and as a future, but I always had this passion inside of me for activism, arts, and community work. And the best way of knowing what you really like and what you really dislike is to try. In the engineering school, they taught us this method of trial and error. So instead of assuming certain numbers and outputs, we just try. And if it fails, it fails. If it works, it works. So I was always trying to put myself into things in order to know myself more rather than imagining what would have happened. Therefore, I tried to split my time in the university. Like my weekends are always in the field, doing community work, doing activism and volunteering. And through the other days, it will be either my job or my computer engineering license and degree. And growing up, I know that I have passion towards something that leads another thing. It was very clear to me that it's fine that you studied 5 years, 6 years, 10 years and something, and then you shifted. We always think that this is a failure. It's not. It's maturity. It's that you reach a point where you now really know where you want to be and what you want to do. And we reach a level of self-love and self-care where you know that anything that you love and makes you happy shouldn't make sense to anyone else. As more as you enjoy it, you like it, you're good at it, then let the degree of engineering be on the walls. Okay, the engineering does not only teach you how to do coding and tech, it teaches you a methodology, it teaches you a certain logic of solving problems, of project management that will always be with me. So it's okay just to shift. It's okay to follow things that you're passionate about. And this is what I try to do.
Yeah, I feel like you are talking from my heart because, as you know, I also shifted from engineering and doing something totally different. And I think it's totally fine. Like that knowledge, I will always be grateful for and always
Yeah,
be with me, but I can use it in another field and there is no problem with that.
yeah,
And engaging the youth to understand that it's really important that they don't need to choose one thing right now. So
yeah,
talking about youth engagement, you are always talking about engaging the youth instead of including them. What is
yeah.
the real difference between those two?
Okay, very good question. So now, like in 2021, we hear those words a lot: youth engagement, youth inclusion, a seminar about youth engagement, a session about youth inclusion, which is good. People are talking more about engaging young people into the platforms and into the work. And coming out from a country and a region that is very young, like in Jordan, the age median is 23. We have over 36% of the people in Jordan that are under 25. But in the same time, if you look at our authorities, if you look at our very big chairs, if you look at our companies, we only take 14% of the seats that are ruling the country, that it has a very big portion of young people. And it's not working. People are not satisfied with what's happening. And it makes sense because the people that are reading and making the rules and designing the process of the country are trying to do this for a certain group or target that they don't belong to. And here comes, like people trying to understand more what we can do. And they started to talk about, okay, instead of speaking about young people, what about we let them speak for themselves, because they can speak for themselves. And so many people, they disagree with this. They think that since you're older, that means you have more expertise, that means that you are wiser, so that you can do that, you can talk for that 18 years old person. But what you need to know is, if you're like a 50 years old person, you have been 18, okay, you know how it feels like and you know what you needed, but that happened 13 years ago. The time changes, the word changes, everything changes. So your methodologies and concepts of what fits young people from 1980 does not work in 2021. It doesn't. That's why we always need to include young people. And what is inclusion? So inclusion is like when you host a party and you invite young people too, which something that's happening now a lot, including PWDs, including refugees or marginalized group in general. They make sure in their KPIs list to have an attendance ratio of, like females versus males, PWDs, refugees. And when you test your outreach and how much inclusivity you had in it, you will be testing regarding, okay, 5 females attended, that's nice. 2 PWDs attended, that's cool. And the age median is like 22, check. And they think that it's enough, but it's not, because inclusion is not just about holding the party where you invite young people to. You need to engage young people, not just invite them, because invitations are not enough. Invitations just gives you a chair, but it does not give you any authorities or any space to make a change or to affect the event, to make it more youth-oriented. If you want something to be youth-oriented, you need to invite those young people to take their opinion regarding the location and to make sure that they can attend this location that you think works for them. You need to tell them and ask them about, what do you think we should design in this program of the party? Who people should we invite? Would you like to be on the stage? Tell us about the food. Tell us about what does youth like nowadays. And also, you don't have to only just give them the privilege of co-designing and attending. You need, if it works, give them credit. If it doesn't, blame them for it and make them take ownership on their own things. So many organizations, they come to MENA region, or they come to so many places with those very great programs and those very nice leadership trainings and things. And they come, they teach you everything, and then they leave. And you need to do mistakes in order to understand more about what's happening. So it's not enough to just give people privilege of learning and access to education and opportunities. You need to give them access on projects where they have the space and opportunity to either go right or left, so that they know if they go left and it's wrong, they need to come again and fail in a better way, which is fine. This is the meaning of learning. This is what it means to learn.
Wow,
So yeah, that's why we can differentiate between inclusion and engagement.
And what do you see as a difference between the outcome of youth inclusion and youth engagement? What is the end result for the youth?
Yeah, okay. So it's different between a project to another and a system to another, but like if you include young people, you will be having a more diverse environment. You will be having people with a younger overview, which is nice, and you will be actually taking your own KPIs. Like coming from someone who worked in so many organizations where youth inclusion was something we brag about. We include young people in our sessions, and our own metrics for youth inclusion was, again, the attendance sheet. Okay, we have 10 people who are between 18 and 24. Nice. So the outcome would be the environment itself and how they engage with each other. But if we talk about youth engagement, the outcome will be that they will add their own hands into the session. They will come out with a different model. Like if you engage young people, for example, in a jury for a contest for entrepreneurs, that will be so much different than just inviting young people to pitch their ideas. Because you have a young person in the jury who can relate and understand the young ideas and entrepreneurial projects that are coming out, maybe through TikTok, that maybe a 14-year-old person cannot relate to. Why the hell would I support a TikTok project based? And they know, they come out and they tell you, you know what, TikTok is becoming a platform where people can send so many tips and they can reach a huge target audience. So having young people that are engaged in the process will change the process, as simple as that. Having young people as beneficiaries will just enhance it and make it more diverse. So it will always upgrade the level and add more criticism that is from a younger point of view to have them as engaging partners.
And you are talking about all these projects. So you do need to teach these young students or like young souls on how to pitch or how to perform. So how do you equip and empower the next generation to be able to do that? What steps do you use?
Okay, so for someone who is here today having this conversation due to the belief of so many people in myself, like either from, like your family, your friends, the elder people in the positions of authority, they believed in me, and that led to me believing in myself, and that led to me trying to work harder to be good with myself. I truly believe that the first step of empowering someone is just to believe in them and to make them feel like they are seen, identified, and just heard. Just listen to young people. So because they have so many things to sell, and they say good stuff. So the first thing would be coming out of an issue of lack of realization of young people's own potential. They don't know how good they are because you can't see what you can't see in a community where the model of young leaders isn't that trending and that available. We see it as, social media influencers. We see it as people who make so much money and do YouTube videos, but like the model of young leaders who can actually change their communities, can object on the rules, can choose what they want to do and succeed in that, isn't that occurring. So the first step for me was to just believe in those young people who come out from backgrounds where they are not very much believed in. And the second thing is to just listen as much as you can, because first of all, if you will not listen, you will not learn. You are not there to just, give things based on what you think. You are there to just, enhance the experience between both of you in order to come out with something that works for both of us. I don't want to go and teach them leadership skills that they will not relate with. I want to go and listen to what they have, what are the issues that they are tackling, in order that I can give them an embedded learning experience that can work for both of us. And this is the mistake that so many organizations fall into. They come from a country X to country Y with their own methodologies and concepts and things that they think will work, and it doesn't. Why? Because you need to localize the concepts and the materials and everything, and you need to make the beneficiaries co-designers with you. So listen to young people, because this way you will be able to understand them more, and you will learn. You will not learn when you're doing the talk all the time. You need to listen, to learn, to observe, to be able to come out with things. Something that I always make sure to say to my peers is the difference between a trainer and a facilitator is a trainer comes in to speak and to give people. A facilitator comes in to make sure that everyone else spoke and everyone else got the equal chance to speak for themselves, and made sure that the conversation is going in a healthy environment where you can come out with the results and recommendations.
I
So
love that.
always try to be the facilitator instead of being the trainer, because the facilitator will be engaging the room, will be letting other people speak, and they will come out from the session having fun and at the same time feeling identified. It's a very strong feeling. You need to give attention to people so that they want to be there. Attention is, as a human nature, we want attention. And attention doesn't mean having pictures. Attention means that people are making value for or your own opinion and giving you the space to speak. So believe in those young people, listen to what they have to say. And something that I learned is to be open-minded as much as you can and understand that the time changes, and understand that even if I'm 23 years old, okay, and when you speak with someone who is 16, you be thinking, we are from the same generation. I must know everything about them. You don't. It's a very, very fast generation. The technology is changing everything. Stay as much open-minded as you can, so that be accepting of their ideas, give them the space to fail, even if deep down you know that they might not do it correct, but give them the chance to be wrong, because it's the best opportunity to be someone who works on yourself. If they are wrong, that means that they have an area of improvement they can work on. And as a facilitator, instead of telling them where to go, you just need to show them the map. Just show them the map. Tell them that this is road X that leads to Y. This is road Y that leads to Z. And let them do the choice instead of you doing the choice. Just make sure that they are good and they know what they're doing, and that's it.
Wow, yeah. I love your thoughts on that. And also, the last time we were talking about these topics, you mentioned that when you are there with these people, you are not only teaching them and facilitating them, but you are learning along the process. So what is the lesson that you have learned throughout this process and throughout teaching the younger generation?
Okay, so lesson number 1 was young people are peacemakers by nature. By nature, and especially kids, if you're dealing with kids, they will always be sad if they see one of their peers being sad. Like they will cry. I remember having a session with kids where one of them was crying and everyone else was crying. And if you think about it, it's funny, but at the same time, it's like, this is the nature that is, not biased, not stigmatized, not changed. This is the true nature of humans. They can feel each other's very deeply. They get sad if someone is in danger. They get happy if someone is getting a reward. So they are peacemakers by nature, and we just need to empower this thing in them and make sure that they don't change it. So they taught me how to believe in those young people and how to sometimes listen to what they have, and even if we think that they are very young and they can't make their own decisions, they have like this thing inside of them that is very pure that we should take as a bias. Something else that they taught me is the dialogue, the art of dialogue, how to speak with each other with respect. And especially when they come from a background where dialogue is not something that they see a lot. Like, for example, if we don't see people having healthy dialogues on the TV, because what do we see on TV? Like, it's either fights or love relationships or XYZ or politics. If they don't see healthy, conversations happening in the students' class, if they don't see healthy conversations happening like in our family and our bedrooms, we will not be able to give those healthy conversations. We will not be able to listen to each others. So something that I learned, that young people always have this aim of change. They really want to change. When you become older and the injustice X or something that you don't like that has been there for 10 years, you will be feeling the familiarization of it. You will start being familiar with it. So you will just start to stop on trying to change it. But in a younger age, you will still reject it because you're not used to it. So they taught me how you should always, even if the injustice has been happening for so many years or for so long, it does not mean it's right. The fact that it has been here for so much time does not mean that it should be here. So they taught me how you should always have this critical eye to see the injustices and try to overcome them. They taught me how to learn through playing, which is something we call the gamification, or they call it edutainment, how to educate yourself by entertaining yourself. And, like in the first lessons, if you have a very, very active group of people, you will be saying that they don't want to sit down and read. They don't just want to play. And in the end, you'd be like, instead of trying to put all of this effort and let them sit down, let's learn when we are up. It's fine. So you need, if they taught me how to come up with innovative way, instead of letting them follow my way of learning and teaching, I will try to follow their vibes and the way that they think they should be learning. And guess what? It worked. And I enjoyed it. They enjoyed it. And we were able to come out with this, experiential method of learning where they learn by doing instead of reading. And where do you engage them? Like, I always believe that, like, tell me and I will forget, teach me and I will remember, engage me and I will learn. So I learned that engaging young people in the learning process is the best way to actually come out with deliverables of learning where you both come out as satisfied of this process.
Wow, yes, definitely. I 100% agree with what you are saying, that involvement and actually letting them try out and feeling the energy, then you become the facilitator that we have been talking about before. But taking a step back, what is your definition of youth? We have been talking about youth so much, so many people have different ideas. So for you, what it means to you?
Okay. So youth, if you go through it from an age perspective, they have like so many differentiations. Some people say that it's from the age 18 to 24. Other agencies says that it's from 18 to 30. So they connected with age, and it's valid, it is about age. But if I want to define young people like outside of the age limit, it would be that young people are the souls who are just not satisfied with things and don't stop there. They try to change things. Young people are the ones who don't follow the markets, they create the markets. And you can see this very clear if you have, if you have knowledge in the entrepreneurship sector, like startups that are based and founded by young people, they will be always coming up with ideas that everyone else would be thinking, nonsense. Why in the hell would I download an application that does this? And with time, they will be, instead of following a trend, they create trends. So young people are trend creators. They create trends that they like. Young people are people who are not afraid to say no because they don't care. And young people are ones who are not afraid to break traditions, because what is tradition? Traditions are just like peer pressure from dead people, to be honest. Like traditions are things that are coming from people we don't know, but we think that if we did this tradition, people would like us, and they are dead. Let them not like us. So I believe that young people have this vibe more than older people, which are people that we love and respect, and without them, we wouldn't be here today. But for younger ages, there's a movement of being able to say no and raise your hand and taking your space, and knowing that things are not coming to your house. Success isn't coming to your room. Like university isn't coming to your neighbor. You need to go and get stuff. You need to go and do it. And they are now being raised in a community that they know this, which is good. They know that it's not easy to succeed in this life, and success is not linear. You need to work hard on it, and they know that. And I think that they're doing a very good job to try to achieve those dreams and successes.
Yeah, I'm kind of speechless from that message that you shared. How can we bring that vulnerability into our daily lives? Because we are not comfortable with being vulnerable. We are not comfortable with sharing. But as you said, as soon as we start building those connections, as soon as we start being vulnerable, we start to gain the understanding that we are not alone and there are so many other stories to relate to. So how to take
Yeah.
that first step of actually opening up?
Yeah. This is a very important topic, like being vulnerable. Um, I think it's like this everywhere, but like here exactly, dealing with young people all the time, and kids particularly, you always see this model of it's not okay to be weak. You should be strong. You should man up. You're the man. And I think this is harder for men. I don't know. Like in Jordan, it's harder for men, because I never forget a story of a young person that his mother has passed away like a month ago, and I remember that his uncles were keep on telling him that he shouldn't cry in her memorial, because he's a man and he is the oldest boy in the house, and he is now the one that he should be in charge. So you're taking the opportunity of a kid to actually like cry in his own mother. Imagine this like model with so many experiences. So the community does not support the vulnerability idea, honestly, and neither does the media, neither does the movie sectors, neither does the things we read and see everywhere. We always worship the superhero model. Whenever we want to highlight something on social media, we make people look like they are perfect. And like young people and even adults, we try to grow up with having a vision of the self that you want to become. Okay. And you always, like, if you're in the 10th grade and they ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you would be saying, I want to be a doctor. But if you come down and we ask them, do you know anything about med school? Why do you want to be a doctor? What exactly do you like about being a doctor? You see that they don't know anything. They don't like anything. They just keep on hearing that being a doctor is good. It's something that, like it's prestigious. Their mothers tell them, I want you to be a doctor. In the community, we worship people with such positions. And the same thing goes for being strong and weak. We actually support the idea of always being fearless and strong and not being vulnerable. Vulnerability is something bad. So we market this. And it's not a surprise that people now are not crying for their mothers in the way they pass away. So this is a very big issue that we need to tackle and that we need to deal with. And for me personally, I had a stage in my life where I thought that I shouldn't be vulnerable. Like I remember I was going through some challenges, and I was always keeping in my mind that when people come and you are very strong, you know what, how can you handle this? You are doing great job. Anyone else in your shoes wouldn't be able to do it. You know what? Because they shouldn't. If you're feeling bad, feel bad. If you want to cry, cry. If you want things to be different, say it out loud. Stop putting the mask of the superhero person, because we're not superheroes. And for me, I kept on accumulating those kinds of feelings for so many long time. It wasn't my choice always, like being the face of a family or being someone who always seen as the one people go to take help and take support, is pressuring, and it's sometimes needed. But what happened with me is, after keeping those feelings down for a very long time, you will go through a situation where if you like drop a cup of water on the floor, you will start on crying. You don't know. It's the crying isn't happening because you slept some water on the carpet. It's because you have so much going on that you didn't let out in a healthy way in the times and situations that you needed to do, and that led to you being stuck like this. So it's like a wall. If you keep on doing like this, like this, like this, you will reach a point where this will crack and it will explode. So I always try to tell young people about this, about, like speaking with your vulnerable parts and being able to say this. And I think like we always hold this listening sessions where we try to speak with young people, and we start with, tell us about a challenge in your day, tell us about something that makes you feel sad, tell us about something that you're not satisfied with. Stop on asking the questions of what is the best thing about you. That's cool, but we need to show both sides. And a tip that I had that worked is start with yourself. If you want other people in the room to come out and speak about their issues and weaknesses, they will be embarrassed. If you start with yourself and you start on speaking, you know what, I had tests that I ruined and I'm very sad. I'm having family issues in my house. You know what, I got sexually harassed in one time. This will make other people be, like motivated to start on speaking about their own vulnerabilities. And the most important part is just not to be hard on yourself. No one said that you should be a superhero. No one is expecting for you to be a superhero, even if the community says so. The more you love yourself and you actually appreciate what you do and who you are, the less you will be hard on it. And the more you will be loving it, and the more vulnerable you will allow it to be. So just act the way you want to act and speak the things that you feel instead of faking it in order to make other people feel better. You don't need to make other people feel better.
Yeah, this is something that I personally am learning as well, like that always putting on the strong face that everything is fine kind of is a mantra, even though it's not. We say so many lies that we don't even realize because we even lying to ourselves. And then I also reach a point that when it's just like I don't understand why, but the bird is falling apart.
Yeah.
But what I'm realizing now, because it's becoming a pattern, that sometimes you just break and you don't know why. So it's important to find those small things on a weekly or a monthly practice that you let go, you allow yourself to feel. It's so important.
Yeah.
And there are so many messages that we hear from the world, for example, that you are the future, and then you don't understand what does that mean, because we are never explained what it means. But you are the future. So what is your definition? Like, how would you describe to a young person what it means that you are the future? What do you tell them about that?
Yeah. I try not to tell them you're the future. Like imagine having someone that you're telling, you know what, in a world where nothing is working and we have so many crises and we have so many issues and we have so many environmental and political and like social injustices, you are the future. That's not cool. You shouldn't be the future. It's very stressing and it's very common. We always say this, and I understand that it comes from a perspective of we want young people to lead the future, which is cool, and they should lead the future. But it's a little overwhelming when you come to a young person that is not equipped, that is not empowered, that does not have a voice, that is led to actually having a platform where people can listen, where he can be supported, and you come in and tell them that they are the future. It does not make sense. It will not happen, because the future is not going to happen by itself. In order to have a future that we are satisfied about, we need to have a present that we're satisfied about. And we are not satisfied about our present. So we need to work on changing this present, because it's not going to change itself. In order to be able to work on this present, we need to have strong people to work on it. And to make those people strong, we need to equip them with the learnings, with the funds, with the, believe in their potential. We need to give them the space of making decisions, because you have the circle of the things you can affect and the circles of the things that are outside of your decision choices. And as long as we are putting young people with a small circle where they only can affect, like the things they choose to wear and the places that they choose to go, in the future, they will be dressing better and going to better places. You affect this, you will be doing this. If we try to border this circle and give them a chair to change the rules and to suggest ideas and to build the plans for countries and to actually, study things that are more future oriented rather than your wish list for your parents. If we make this circle of choices bigger and better, we will be having a better future.
Mm.
And it's not going to happen by itself. We need to work on the present to have a better future.
Yeah, definitely. But during these COVID times, it's so hard to actually engage, not only involve the youngsters, but also engage them. And they are as we said, they need to hear that they have a potential, but they are not having a chance to socialize. They are not having a chance to actually build a community, build that future that they need for themselves. They don't have a chance to seek out and learn from others, learn and be vulnerable. So what do you use in these days to create still that environment?
Yeah. Okay, so COVID made everything different and actually more difficult than it used to be. But me personally, I think that it also opened our eyes in so many things. First of all, it taught us appreciation, how we should appreciate the very small things that happen in our lives. For someone who got COVID and stayed home for a very long time, I started to see that we never thought that being able to go out without a mask would be something nice. We never thought that you will be missing hugging your friends. We never thought out that, the cinemas are very beautiful, the importance of actually physically interacting with people. And in the same time, we saw that so many things that we thought we can't live without are things we can live without. We can live without having very, very big hangouts. We can live out without having very fancy weddings and occasions. We can live out without having to spend so much money on things that we don't need to do. So it opened our eyes in so many things, but in the same time, due to having a very weak digital infrastructure in so many areas, accessibility for learning with COVID is only technical, which is good job for the technology and bad luck for the people who can't afford or can't have accessibility on such services. So being someone who works with vulnerable communities, it was very challenging to reach those people. And it wasn't something that was surprising. We did a survey between them and we saw that 19% of those young people didn't have access to any kind of technical platforms. They don't have smartphones, they don't have internet, they don't have tablets, they don't know how to use to Zoom, they have nothing. So we had this happening and we were like, it's either we say, this is how things are, this is a global pandemic, how will we reach them? Can't go to their houses. Or we come and sit down and be like, how will we fix this? How can we work on this? Even if it's not going to be totally solved, we need to try. Option 2 it was. And we established a campaign and I think in April, where we talked with all of the organizations from the public sector and private sector, and we tried to do crowdfunding, fundraising to provide those young people with internet bundles and with technology platforms. Then we tried to digitalize our sessions and our info sessions and groups and everything. So we started with going online virtually. Everything we do it virtually, but we had the struggle of people, they don't know how to use technology. They are not very familiar with Zoom and with Hangouts and with, turning the audio off and the mic on and everything. And, so many old people, they don't know how to do this as well. In our workplaces, it's not always something mandatory to be able to do tech. So it was fine. It was understandable. So in the first, it was very challenging. Like you spend half an hour of, am I on mute? You're muted. Do you hear me? I can't see myself. How do I log in? Join Zoom link. But after a while, it became better. Young people were able more to use technology, which is a bonus for them and us. And then we tried to move our programs online, and it was easy. No. It was not easy, especially if you're doing something like the program we do is called psychosocial support. And the base of psychosocial support is called active listening. And the base of active listening is looking through someone's eyes and try to be very still and speak to them. you can do this on Hangouts. It's not
Yeah.
easy to have this connection, to have this body connection with those young people, but we need to adapt. And we saw that so many other opportunities have been open. Like you can always open a movie on a meeting and try to discuss it. You can, do the raise hand and do the agendas and teach those young people how to interact more. So will it decrease the quality of the learnings? It will. Will it decrease the engagement? It will. But at the same time, it opened opportunities for online learning for hundreds of people who were not able to get out from their own houses. So many of the young females where their parents did not allow them to go regularly to our sessions, that because they were mixed men and females, were able to attend now virtually. So many like courses and degrees that were, highly paid online are now free and open source and available to everyone. So the kind of engagement is changed. And I think the concept of engagement, if the word stills online, it will be changing and re-informing in the upcoming years. So we're here to see where will this lead us to.
And relating back to our previous question, like how do you see their vulnerability throughout the camera? So can they open up, or how do you engage them to open up?
Honestly, in the beginning, no, it was very hard to be able to engage, as like especially like I told you, in the critical issues of like crying on the camera. We all used to cry a lot in our sessions where we do mentorship for kids, where they just like come and tell out the issue that they're happening with. It's not very normal to do this on camera, and it's not something that we are used to do. Most of them, they don't even open the camera because they have like very short internet bundles that they can't actually do. But this will add more responsibility to the facilitator to make sure that you are breaking the ice in an appropriate way. You are involving those young people to choose the topics that they want to talk about instead of something that you think they are interested in. And I think with designing with them made the sessions better. When they come to a session that they chose the topic of, they will be attending better, they will be talking more, they will be opening the camera more, and it will be something that they really care about. So start with choosing something that people care about. Therefore, they will be willing to show vulnerability towards, they'll be willing to start with opening the camera and speaking and engaging, and try to play games and do icebreakers and focus on the fun part, because sitting on something with not being able to do something for 2 hours, no matter what the topic was, no matter how sensitive and how related it is, in the last 30 minutes you will be like this. You just it's tiring, physically tiring, honestly, mentally tiring. The attention span that you have will be different. So to open the vulnerability, I think that we are managing to do this more now after like a very long series of sessions where they got to know the process of the sessions. They got to know each other's more. You need to make sure that everyone in the room, they know each other's. The more breakout rooms you have, the more openness there will be. So if you're in a session that has like 40 people, no one will be speaking out about things that are personal or things that they don't feel comfortable to speak about usually. But we saw that the breakout rooms that have like 3 to 4 people usually have like more real outputs and things that young people are less afraid to speak about. So less people in the room will make the kind of conversation more real and more vulnerable.
And when you are working with these young people, you said we shouldn't hear the messages of you are the future. We just shouldn't tell them all these messages, that traditions that we are saying to them in general. What is a message though that should be told to the younger generation? What is the next thing, like the most important thing that they should actually hear?
Okay. So they should be hearing so many things, but coming out from what I saw as something that's missing between young people, I would just tell them that they need to know that every good restaurant that they always go to, every rich book that changed the way they think, every application they have on their phone that made their life easier, every rule that has been changed by someone's voice, it started with an idea, just an idea, and someone that was brave enough to raise their hand and to say that this should start, this should end. And with that idea, you just need to believe in yourself. And you need to believe and know that it's not going to be easy, but it's doable. And it's not going to happen in one day, but it will happen one day. So it's either one day or day one. It's your choice. And you're not alone in this. You need to know that so many organizations and people and so many places are working to look for you. And they're just looking for you. They want young people like you to support with. You're not expected to be born with all of the tools and methodologies and just things that will make you change your community. People have spent their entire life to create those tools and to help you with them. So just use them. Be a very smart researcher, search online, take advantage of the tools that people have developed over the years to make your life easier and make your life easier. And look for places that will give you that aid. Look for places that will give you that support. I personally come from an organization where we empower young people and we fund them and we help them to make their ideas into realities. Our name is peacefirst.org, and tens of other organizations. They just outreach young people like you who would like to change their worlds. So my message is to believe in yourself and know that you are worthy of loving, worthy of being taken care of, that you have a very valuable opinion, even if other people think it's silly or it's like very, like foolish or traditional or whatever. As long as you believe in yourself and as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, that's okay. And stop following the traditional meaning of success. People think that being success is having a very fancy, nice job title and having a very high salary, like in the high end. If you're like on your career path after university, if you don't have a good salary and your position is like you don't have job, they will think that you are jobless and you're not successful. It's not. Success is having free time where you can do things that you want. Success is mental health, is being mentally healthy. Success is physical health, is not working yourself off for something that you don't care about. Success is loving what you do, Even if I have the best title in the world and have the best salary in the universe, and I'm spending my 9 to 5 into something that is wasting the time of my life and I don't even like, this is failure. This is not success. So success is just loving what you do. If it was, doing any kind of engineering topics or feeding the cats in the streets or doing some cooking lessons, you love it, you're successful. And just success is just being in something that you really love and having people around you that believe in you and you feel belonging to. So yeah.
How can we find this community where we belong to? It's so hard these days. And there are these expectations that to fit in, not to stand out. How to find that community, not to get affected by this peer pressure?
Yeah. And it's very hard, honestly. And I think every one of us have been through this phase of their, even like being a teenager or adult sense or in school, university, where you just don't belong, you're just in a group where you don't belong. And for me, like the best point of maturity was when I understand that you don't need to belong. You don't need to always belong, to be honest, because sometimes you were born to stand out. It's not always the thing that you need to do to belong. Sometimes you to change the people around you, you need to change the people around you, just like that. So you need to know that is the group that I'm trying to belong to a supportive group that believes in me and that are similar to me and that accepts my ideas and thoughts and that makes me better, or they are people that I am putting so much energy and effort into trying to please them and make them see me as someone who fits with them and make them love me. If it's a toxic group that you're trying to belong, then you should just change this group and try to look to groups that will embrace you the way you are and that will just, make you feel yourself more. For me, like when I choose my friends or choose the places I want to go to, I always say I want to go to a place or a friend where I just feel myself and I don't have to put effort into trying to fit. So look for the places where you don't have to put effort. It's not going to happen easily. It will happen accordingly with the more you know yourself, the less you will be willing to invest in people that don't make you feel like you belong to them. The more you love yourself and care for yourself, the more you will be going through things that are based on your values and the things that you like instead of what the group thinks and what the group wants. So it's okay to be solo. We always are welcoming having people around us, but if the people around us don't fit us, we don't need to. We will always end up with people who love us and care about us. It will be happening, but it sometimes needs time.
Yeah, well, definitely. Yeah, just let it sink for a moment, because I think it was really important to hear that message that we don't always have to belong, we don't always have to fit in,
Yeah,
and finding that alignment within us, knowing our true self, will help us reflect more and more on who are the people we want in our lives, and help us cut those attachments that we have connected to those people. And sometimes
exactly.
they can be friends, they can be family, and even realizing that sometimes you don't even need to fit in those circles is even harder. But
Yeah,
the more we realize ourselves, we understand that, yeah, they are part of my life, but it doesn't necessarily mean I have to
exactly.
be involved with them that much. So thank you for
Yeah,
sharing that message.
you're
You
welcome.
are so passionate about your work and you love it so much. And I'm truly appreciating all the work that you are doing. How can we implement it around the world? Because it's not only in Jordan, it's not only in the Middle East that we need this youth engagement, but we are only hearing it in third world countries that people are doing it. So how can we start implementing it in the Western world? How can we start involving the youth and making them understand that they are important?
Yeah. Very important question. And I think, I don't know why, but like, for example, in my work, we get more applications from young people from the MENA region or sub-Saharan Africa rather than we get it on UK or like EU or like any Western countries. And you will be thinking like, why is this happening? And you will get to a point that people don't try to change communities that works for them. So the more injustices, the more wars, the more issues that are happening leads to having more people who are not satisfied, who are trying to make a change. And being in a country that is semi-settled, that like is going on in a good way somehow, does not mean that you should just be living your life the way it is. You need to first of all feel that it's important to support other people, and supporting communities will always give you more than you give. Something that I truly believe. And the way I worked with my community for so many years, I did not give community, I give myself. And it reflected on me, on my experience, on my the way I look through things, the way I appreciate everything. So we need to understand this concept of giving, giving unconditionally, giving not to take, giving not to change our own neighbor. Maybe our neighbor is perfect. Giving to someone who lives in a neighbor in Iberia that they might be changing their life, because everyone's life matters. And if someone is living in misery that is not affecting us directly, does not mean that we can neglect this. We need to work for other people that are going through hard times, so that when we go through hard times, other people will help us. It's a relationship. So it's first we need to feel others, and we need to know what's happening in the world, and we need to let our media that is trying to act like everything is perfect and pink know and show and expose those things more to people, because sometimes they just don't know that they need to add, they need to help, they need to engage. We need to show people the issues so that they get this driver of trying to solve those issues that will require them engaging into solving those issues. So we need to let people see the opportunities where they can engage in the process of solving those issues. So in order to do this practice globally, like I come from a work where we work globally, we can, yes, see the differences and the challenges of urging young people in other places and other communities to wake up and volunteer and do some time for the community. And it's not easy and it's challenging, but something that we saw that was very good working is connecting those people with other young people from other regions where they do have such initiatives and do have such injustices. And this will make them more feeling of what is going in the world, and like hearing this from their peers that are from them same ages, where you get to wake up and go to school and someone else gets to wake up and he needs to walk to another city to go to school without having food in his bag. It will make you see, like, first of all, appreciating what you're in, second of all, seeing that okay, some people need to be helped, and I am a young person who have the opportunity to help. And we are all in all of this as a circle, like we are all giving, but in different ways of giving. So we need to start showing young people what's happening in the world and showing them the opportunities where they can engage. And it's okay for some of them not to be as motivating as other people. It's our job to motivate them because we need them. So we need to motivate those young people, show them the right practices of engagement, and to show them what's happening in the world and what they can add. Because everyone, regardless of your situation, we love the feeling of adding. We love the feeling of, if you don't come to a place, there's something missing, like the value of yourself, the value that you give to the place. This is not connected with your financial or educational or like social situation. We always like to be feeling like we can add to something, and adding to social injustices and helping other young people in the world would be a great thing to add to.
Yeah, but sometimes we also just need to understand that even in the Western world, not everything works. And it is a nice way to see that things are not working in our country, but many people are saying that's far away from me. So just
Yeah.
understanding that even in your own community, you can still do something. There are still people in next door or just 2 streets down that need that help. They don't have the chance to get the food to go to school or don't have the means of transport. So it is happening everywhere. And just
Yeah.
understanding that, shifting that mindset that maybe a kid next door doesn't have those
Exactly.
chances, and maybe
Yeah.
organizing some community things within your
Exactly.
area can be a good start as well.
Yeah, and this is a responsibility of the own country and media and organizations. Like, for example, why are people that are living in sub-Saharan Africa, the issues of them is being broadcasted to people in Canada, for example, rather than the people next door to them? Because, the world is trying to put effort into showing those people to others. But the country itself, the media itself, they need to show you what is happening next door. And the culture of showing vulnerability and showing that some things are missing should be more exposed.
Mm. So what is an ideal community look like for you?
So what does an ideal community look like?
Yeah, for you.
That's a very nice question. I sometimes ask this for when we ask young people, what do you want to be in 10 years? They have like very hard time to like answering this question. So we tell them we don't want what you want to be as a career. We want to know like, where do you want to live? What will your day look like? How will the street look like? So we tell them, if you get the chance to live a day, every day, 7 days a week, what will this day look like? Where will you be living? What the country we will be seeing, and what is your job, education, the family? How will it look like? Will you live solo or with people? So I think if I want to imagine how is the community that I will live in, where I will be satisfied that my kids are walking the streets, I want a community where my females can walk without feeling threatened in any way. I want a community where my boys can equally understand that each gender has the right to do whatever they want as long as they are not affecting you. I want myself to be working in something that I love without being stressed and pressured from the community to do something that the community thinks is better for me. I want young people to be taking positions of authority and to be speaking for themselves and to be drawing the paths of other young people in their community. I want opportunities to be equal to everyone, not the ones who are good at writing applications, not the ones who are having good internet connection. Everyone means the ones who are in their houses and they can't go out, the ones who can't write, the ones who don't have internet accessibility, the ones who have disabilities in general. So we need to work harder on the actually access of education and equal opportunities distribution. I want a community where we take care of climate change and environment, a community where we don't have cats in the streets. I want a community where we wake up feeling satisfied and we sleep feeling rested, knowing that if we want to change something, we can change it, and not to ever lose this, have this eye of, like believing in yourself and believing in your potential of making change, because it's very important. I want so many things. So
Just in general, being free to be you and being free to express yourself and being free to walk down the streets without being afraid of anything else. So just the level of freedom in that community is the most important, and the trust
yeah,
that you are safe. And as we know from Maslow's pyramids as well, safety is the first thing that we need
yeah,
to be able to reach enlightenment,
exactly.
next step.
It's the base. Yes.
Exactly.
You can't do great in a community where you don't feel safe. You can't.
Exactly. So we are
Yeah.
leading up to our final questions. I hope you're ready. You were
Yeah.
mentioning that when you are holding these meetings with the youngsters and the community to share them their vulnerability. You ask questions. So I would like to ask you, what is the challenge of your day and how do you overcome them?
Okay, very important question. So challenges for me, or even the definition of the word challenge, if you ask me this question last year, it's so much different than this year and when I was a teenager and was a student, because challenges are created by ourselves and the way we interact with the outside, and we as people change a lot every year and every time. So the challenge for me is, if I want to talk about the meanwhile, it's about time. I have a challenge of trying to do everything together. I have this vision of, if you don't do this when you're 23 or 24, then you will never do it. Because if you don't do like a job with an internship, with a volunteer experience, with an education degree, with masters when you're 25, then when you will do it? So I have a challenge of trying to do all of those things together. And, each core of those, they don't understand that they should give you a break because you have XYZ, and they don't. It's fine to do that. So I have a challenge of actually trying to do all of this together. I am responsible for my family, so I have a challenge of making sure that they are living a life better than the one that I did. Like my little sister is living something better than what I lived. And the generations that come after us are living something that's easier from the female life that we lived. So I have a challenge of being responsible for those things. I have a challenge of not being hard on myself. And, like I'm someone who's very ambitious and tries to do so many things and tries to just excel in the things that I do. And I need to understand that it's okay not to. Sometimes it's okay to understand that this is not your area, or you don't have time or energy to do that. So I need to just understand that it's enough sometimes, and we don't need to excel in things. The method or the myth of being excellent shouldn't be going now. You need just to fit and be good. It's not mandatory to be excellent. So challenges of building myself and being the self that I want to be, and making sure that I want to be in a community, and a raising up way that, the media really affects your mind, the family really affects your choices, the community really influences your future plans. Like I remember growing up in high school, I always wanted to learn piano. And when I learned piano, I didn't like it. And I saw that I didn't even like piano. I don't have anything related with piano. I just saw that in movies, the person that works on piano is someone who is very, like fancy and very elegant and kaza. And, like when I go to a concert, I like the look of people who are on piano, but deep down, this is not what I want. So I'm trying to understand and to tell what is the person that I want to be, away from what other things want me to be. And I'm trying to be someone who's active in a community that is very challengeful, where it's not always your call to provide people with internet. It's not always an option to do a session for people in another city where you don't have financials that can get you that, like the logistics to do so. So it's very hard when you see issues and when you see people that are going through hard situations that you don't have the time or the money or the effort to help them. So I'm trying to look for alternatives and trying to work into, like making this better.
Well, I have to tell you one thing. You are making it better and you are doing all that work for them. And you don't need to worry about time. When I was looking into your bio, you have done so many incredible things already by the age 23. So you don't need to worry what's going to happen in 24 and 25, because I'm
Okay.
convinced that you're going to do some incredible things. And if you don't manage to do all what you need, you will still manage to do some really remarkable things that is needed for the world. So just know that I understand your challenge, but you don't need to be afraid of it because you are already living it and doing it. Just
Thank
know
you so
that.
much. Thank you.
My next question to you is that you are working with these young souls. You have went on interviews as well. You have been asked so many questions on how to help these people. What is a question that you don't think you get asked often, but you think it's really needed and most people should know about it?
Um, okay. A question that I should be asked on more. This is an interesting question. Um, I think that in so many cases, people just they don't ask a lot about feelings. Like they ask about results, they ask about stories, they ask about so many things that don't include feelings. And I am someone who is very feelings biased, who is very feelings oriented. I do things because I feel certain things. And I saw from my experience that even young people, even adolescents, even everyone else, they do things because they feel things. Like, for example, they are angry. They are angry with the communities. They are angry with their financial situation. They are angry with because they don't get to go to university because they can't afford, because they don't get to change a rule that they can't do. And we just see this anger and we don't ask about it, like we just say as this is a very angry young person, but we need to understand the feelings and where do those feelings generate from. And for me, I see like you get to a point to understand like anger is good. Anger is good if you use it to fuel your potential and motivation, and use this anger in the right place and like the right quantity to make it something that will motivate you to change things. So I always like to ask the answers and the questions that ask about people's feelings and the base behind everything they do. What did they feel and that made them do X or Y or Z?
Yeah. So, what is a feeling that fuels you?
Yeah, for me, a feeling is, like the feeling that you deserve something. Like when you apply for example, a scholarship, and you spend 2 days writing an application and 3 days collecting reference letters, and you do very hectic interviews, and then you get shortlisted. The moment you read the email and you feel like you deserve this, you worked hard enough on it, yourself should be rewarded on this. So for me, whenever I work in anything, whether it was community work, volunteerism, education, my job, my family, I always try to follow the feeling of, did I deserve this? Did I take this because I'm good enough or because I am a social networker? Did I get this because I deserve this, because I fit in this position? I always need to feel if I did community work and volunteerism, did I do this because I really believe in those people and I really believe in their pains, or because I want to take pictures and feel like I did something good? You need to connect your feelings to your values and to the things that you do to make sure that all of your actions are value oriented rather than being influenced by what things look like and how good you will look. So yeah, it will be the feeling that I worth and I just deserve the things that I'm doing, and I'm just losing myself through the work. This is a feeling that when I feel, I know that I'm on the right track, I'm doing something that I should be keep on doing.
And I think most of us need to start telling that ourselves, to ourselves at least, that we
Yeah,
deserve it, because we are our worst enemies. We are the ones who tell ourselves that we are not good enough, we are not going to make it. So just having that belief in ourselves is the most important, that we actually
yeah,
deserve to get it, to be
yeah.
there and achieve all the incredible things that we want to achieve. So yeah, thank you for that message. And
Thank
for
you.
me, what I love about knowledge is that we can always expand it. We can always learn from others. We can always learn from books, older generations, great wisdoms from ancient cultures. So, what is a knowledge that really spoke to you, that you attained from someone else or from a book?
Okay. Something that I learned and something that I got to grow into learning is the best source of learning is kids. The most people, yeah, the most people that I got to learn from is kids. The most people that got to see my weaknesses, like whenever I'm very sad and I go to a physician sick, I'm very good in showing myself like I'm not very sad, I'm not feeling down. You will not be able to trick on kids. They have this sensors of feelings that we lost while growing up faking things. They are just so pure and they know everything. So it would be for me, for my advice, if you have a kid in your house, in your neighbor, in the family, in the school, be around them and try to teach them and try to learn from them, try to learn from their honesty, try to learn from their own motivation and persistence, and try to learn from the way they try to pursue things, the way they treat things that they love. And kids has been a huge learning source for me, that I learned so many things from on the behavioral and the educative sides, both of them. And something else that I saw that really taught me is this concept of treating yourself the way you treat the one you love the most in your life. And in a way where I was neglecting myself in so many areas because I wanted to focus on so many other things, someone told me that if you want to make sure that you are taking care of yourself fully, think of the one you love the most, like your mother, your spouse, your friend, how much you will be pressuring on them to go and study for their exams, how much pressure you're putting on them to take their medicine on time, to drink water, to go to the gym, and to just be good with yourself. So see yourself as your best friend and as the one you love the most, and all of the practices will be changing for you.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much for that message and everything during our conversation. I think the youth, and not only the youth, but even the elder generation can learn a lot from it, how to involve and what questions to ask from the younger generations, to actually listen to their advices, their insights. I love that what we were closing with was you learning from a child who is 20 years younger than you. So to implement that a 45-year-old needs to learn from a 25-year-old. And then, like that 20-year change. I love that we need to get that shift changes, that the younger doesn't mean that they are less knowledgeable or less, dependent on. They don't understand things. They just have a different view on life that sometimes we need in our life to implement.
We need to trust the youth.
Yes, trust the youth. So thank you so much for being here, Yousra, and sharing all your stories and knowledge. It was a privilege to have you and get to know you. I'm feeling so lucky and grateful that we had this chance. So thank you.
Thank you so much for providing this very interesting platform that allows me as a young person. You are including me, you are engaging me, and you are giving me the chance to influence other young people who need our voices. I really enjoyed this episode. I'm looking forward if we can have any other talks in the future. This is an awesome show that I will be totally seeing all the time. And thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. I will. We will have more talks. Don't worry.
Great.
Thank you for joining us today, and a huge thanks to Yousra for telling her story and sharing her passion on youth engagement. I find the most important message to be that we all need to be listened to and understood. We all need to have a chance to be vulnerable, and we all need to be believed in, and that we shall appreciate the youth because they are the people who have the chance to transform the world. And that is incredible. What is a message that spoke to you personally? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you have any questions to me, send me a message on social media. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, or send me an email to ontheballwitheniko@gmail.com. If you have a guest suggestion or you would like to hear from a specific expert on a specific topic, share that with me as well, and I will do my very best to fulfill your suggestions. If you found this episode motivating, make sure that you share it with others and text this to your friend right now who you think would be inspired by this story. The best way to live a happy and fulfilled life is to serve others. So share this episode with people you care about. It has no cost, but will elevate them and make their lives even better. If this is your first time here, click that love and subscribe buttons and make sure that you leave a rating and review. I would love to hear your thoughts and feedback on how this message lifted you up, brought you a change into your life. I would also love to hear your own definition of success. I'm so grateful for your support, sending love and great health to you all. And now it is time for you to be on the ball.